In this episode of the Encounter Report, 5 amazing flying squirrels unite in Suikoden 2. There's Axelrod, your humble narrator, who did a blind playthrough of the original game on the PlayStation 3. Joining him is Daolite, who did a second plus playthrough of the original game on the PlayStation 1, and Mr. JRPG, who did a hard difficulty second plus playthrough of the remaster on the Switch. Alongside us is Armored Priest, who did a not blind playthrough of the remaster on the PlayStation 5, and Zeroleet, who is the speedrun world record holder for the 100%, 108-star speedrun of the original game as of writing. Each of us played on the default difficulty with the exception of Mr. JRPG, who played on hard, and Armored Priest, who played on easy. And with all that out of the way, will the real Shoutouts Reinbach please stand up? First up are battle types, where we can take a look at the categories of encounters everyone engaged in. Here we can see a pretty wide range of random encounters amongst everyone. Daolite and myself are 1 minute apart on time, but he has more than 200 encounters than I do. Meanwhile, Armored Priest and Mr. JRPG's times aren't that far behind, but their encounter totals are significantly lower than Daolite's. Then there is Zeroleet, who actually manages to separate himself with encounter percent by a decent margin, which is also to say nothing of the boss time, which is considerably shorter than the rest of us. On top of that, Zeroleet and myself earn the coveted No Deaths medal, but I feel like Armored Priest deserves one as well. On Encounter 350, he's fighting 5 Hawkmen in the Recruitment Mountains, and they don't kill him. They just carry off his party members off screen one by one until they're all gone and he gets a game over screen. It's been a long time trying to figure out if this should count as a death or not, and I'm still on the fence about it. Battle locations are up next, and here we can see where encounters took place. With this distribution, Zeroleet's percentages are much closer to everyone else, despite a significant reduction in times and encounter totals. We can also see that proportionally, world map encounters are significantly reduced to their dungeon counterpart and on average, take a sizable amount less time as well. I will also state that overworld encounters were specifically Luca Blight's fights, as I couldn't decide where they should go. It's also worth pointing out the run percent as well. Zeroleet ran away from 100% of world map encounters, while Daolite follows that up with 82%. Mr. JRPG is among the most tame out of all of us, and then there's Armored Priest, who hardly ran away. But speaking of running, we're going to follow that up with combat types, where we can see how encounters concluded. And for the run encounters, the encounter percent is extremely high and has never been this consistently high in any of the prior encounter reports. Previously, Suikoden 1's speedrun held the highest with 69%, while Black Sigil Blade of the Exiled held the prior record at 60%. For Suikoden 2, Zeroleet beats the short-lived record with 73%, while Daolite sets a non-speedrunning record at 61%. Typically, there's usually only one outlier when it comes to excessively running away from fights, but in this case, Armored Priest was the only person to not run away an exorbitant amount. And to quickly pivot to Daolite's 3 issue encounters, those were resets in the middle of battle. We can also congratulate Daolite on the pain and prestige of the 1000 Encounter Club membership. Subtypes will briefly grace our presence to show that everyone did grinding to some degree, and for most of us it included the 4 optional squirrels. Daolite also engaged in a lot of grinding to achieve a 100% run, while Armored Priests were more nebulous, although he was the only person to stand on the world map and wait for the squirrels to join his party. For a moderate detour, we're also checking out notable locations, with that being Banner Pass specifically. This is the forest you need to travel through to get to Gregminster and is without a doubt my arch nemesis. This dungeon goes on for a decent chunk of time to reach Gregminster, and once you're finished in town, you have to walk back through the forest to Banner Village. While Zeroleet left fairly unscathed, it's still the 4th most encounters of any location visited, and he had a cheeky escape talisman trick to save encounters. For Armored Priest, it's second only to world map encounters, where that separation is just 15 encounters. It's also the 2nd most encounters for Mr. JRPG, also only beaten by world map encounters. For Daolite, it comes in 3rd due to an extremely high amount of grinding in Green Hill Forest for a bugged recipe, and comes in 2nd for myself, also after world map encounters. Considering some of the lengths that the remasters had gone through to add quality of life changes, this was definitely one I expected. I was very surprised that they either didn't let you escape Talisman to immediately get out of the forest, or just let you blinking mirror in and out of Gregminster. Truly the most diabolical of dungeons, and I'm glad to be free of it. We've also got the level progression graph for each person. On the left, we have the levels, and on the bottom, all of the bosses in the game. Each boss takes up a rectangle in the graph, and within those rectangles, we have Ryu's levels for each participant when that boss was defeated. And as a quick note, optional bosses like the Harpy and Poison Moth aren't included here. Here we can see shenanigans. Everyone managed to start off around the same area, but once we get to Double Head, Daylight immediately separated from the pack in a large way. This was due to him going to the Matilda border and just pushing the gate out of the way. He then grinded a couple characters to level 30 and went about his business. And then for the Star Dragon Sword, Zero Elite jumps even further to level 55 by funneling experience into Ryu in the Border Forest. For myself, Mr. JRPG, and Armored Priest, we all stay very consistent with each other effectively to the end, where everyone's levels then start to even out. Next up is the boss encounter time graph. On the left, we have the time, and on the bottom, each boss in the game. Each boss takes up a rectangle, and within those rectangles, the length of time it took each person to defeat the boss on their latest kill attempt. Here we can see that our times can vary quite a bit, but there are several consistencies here. Zero Elite crushes everyone's times, and the closest anyone really gets is on the Gerudo fight, but that kinda doesn't count. For myself, I spent more time in a lot of the earlier fights and managed to stay with the pack as the game progressed. Daylight finds his times being second highest and second lowest with few deviations, while Mr. JRPG manages similar spectrums as well. And with Armored Priest, almost all of his times are the best outside of Zero Elite's. Luca Blight's fights in particular are an extremely impressive time. Following that is the Recruitment Order, which will cycle by pretty quickly, and is where we can see the order everyone recruited various characters. This only includes the 81 characters that can be used in encounters, and is based on when the characters are available for use, in order of recruitment. As an example, if you recruit Rikimaru and then recruit Millie, Millie will count as recruited first since she forces her way into the party, whereas we need to travel back to the fort to gain access to Rikimaru. And for the most part, there aren't a ton of deviations between Daylight, Mr. JRPG, and Armored Priest. Each of them had a very similar approach to the order of recruits, but Mr. JRPG does stand out the most amongst them, such as being the only person to recruit Valeria. For myself, I was pretty all over the place, and it was only towards the end of the game where I decided to save time and get help on how to get to remaining characters. For Zero Elite, I found the Recruitment Order to actually be extremely fascinating. I fully expected characters like Millie, Kinnison, and Shiro to get recruited with the Tomo sequence, and was also surprised to see that you can skip Rikimaru and Zamza at the start of the game to recruit them later. The supersized party composition is up next, and with 81 characters to go through, get the microscope ready. These are going to cycle by pretty quickly as well, so I encourage you to pause where needed. Characters are listed in alphabetical order, and if someone used a character, they have a faint gray highlight for that respective box. For the most part, everyone had a similar strategy of tanky frontliners with support and mages in the backline. For final party compositions, I had George, Pesmerga, Humphrey, Luke, Stallion, and Ryu, while Daylight had Victor, Flick, Humphrey, Ryu, Tyr, and Luke. Mr. JRPG had a rare pick with George, Flick, Victor, Vicky, Ryu, and Tyr, as well as Armored Priest with Ryu, Victor, Flick, Ellie, Luke, and Rina, while Zero Elite had the most unique composition with Mazis, Sheena, Flick, Meg, Luke, and Ryu. Party diversity was expanded quite a bit due to the 3 Luca Blight fights, thus getting everyone to throw as many characters into the evil woodchipper as possible. Zero Elite was the only person to recruit Abiz Boa, I was the only person to use Hauser, Mr. JRPG was the only person to use Siegfried, Daylight used Hoy, and Armored Priest was the only person to use Ida. The number of enemies per encounter is following that up and will be continuing the cycling. 1 enemy encounters were pretty low all things considered, while 3 enemy encounters took up a sizable bulk and 2 enemy encounters followed that. Then there's 6 enemy encounters, which were surprisingly high. Then there's also the run percent, which shows impressive enough numbers that our very own marathon runner would be jealous of. And to wrap everything up, here are the final combined stats. Surprisingly, everyone managed to come out under 20%, even with the play times being fairly close together for the non-speedruns. It also doesn't seem like there are too many differences between easy and hard difficulty on the remaster, although one thing I did notice was Armored Priest getting double money on most of the encounters in the game, something that Mr. JRPG was not so lucky to receive. Having watched Daylight's run second after my own, I felt certain a speedrun would utilize many of the same techniques he used. I witnessed Daylight pushing the Matilda Gate border to gain access to higher level enemies, as well as acquiring maximum money through some combination of purchases. These all seemed like easy things to be adopted by the speedrun to gain quick advantages, but I couldn't have been so wrong. Zero Elite's run was way more straightforward than I thought it would be, and it didn't seem like much, if any effort was taken to acquire maximum money or levels out of the way. Speaking of though, I did actually track money awards and fights for both Suikoden 1 and 2, mostly because I want to compare them to Suikoden 3 someday. So, look forward to that in the future, but as a quick tease, I earned over 3 million Potch, Deo Light Mr. JRPG over 4 million, Armored Priest over 9 million, and Zero Elite over 1 million. This doesn't take the cap into account and is purely rewards from battles. And that's the Suikoden 2 Encounter Report. I hope you visit everyone's channels and social media to praise them for all this wonderful data. With another report done, I guess we can only be left with the conclusion that there's a Shoutouts Reinbach in all of us, so we all gotta stand up. Thanks for watching, appreciate it, see you on the next video.